first of all, congratulations to Ireland. I thought thoroughly deserved their win. It was a game that they came out and played incredibly well, held the ball long periods. I thought that we did really, really well with our defence in terms of hanging in there and frustrating them, and the fact that we sort of took our first two opportunities to score in quite a clinical way sort of meant that we were really hanging in the game in quite a nice position based on frustrating them a little bit and in the back of our defence. But really, I was really impressed with them today. I thought they played a high tempo game, it kept us chasing, and when it really mattered at the end, we just didn't quite have the composure to take the opportunity that we hadn't presented to us, and they just played a pressure game in that last little part. So very similar to many other Irish All Black games that I've been involved with the last 3 or 4 times up here, and but congratulations to them. I think they played hide the ball pretty well in that first 40, and you got to give Ireland credit for the way that they held the ball for long periods, and again I was delighted with the fact that we, under the sheer weight of possession and territory, our defence stood up pretty strongly against them. We conceded 1 try when we had a yellow card, but apart from that I thought we got through to half time a bit battered, but in a reasonably good position with the circumstance. But we weren't very clinical in that first 10 minutes. We presented a couple of opportunities for them which they were good enough to take, and then it was a matter of chasing the game, and that situation looked like it was under control for some while. With Wills, I thought Wills was a great try. I thought Akira's was a great try, but the TMO didn't, and that's probably the story of the game.
How much of a toll did the first half tackles? You made 158, Ireland made 37. How much of a toll did that take, do you think, in the back end of the game?
Well, I thought it probably took more toll on them, to be honest, because I thought the last 15 minutes there was a lot of stoppages, there was a lot of cramping, there was a lot of deliberate slowing the game down, which was a bit frustrating. But sometimes when you have a lot of ball, you actually have to send a lot of people to rucks, whereas we only had to sort of commit 1 tackler. So, whilst it's not the way we wanted to play, I think it sucked a lot of juice out of them as well. So I don't think energy or tackles was a difference in the game. I think it was the ability to take your opportunity when it got presented, and when you're playing a real quality team, you have to do that.
This last one for me, do you have an update on Bowden and Anton and their injuries?
No, not really. It's just too early yet. Bodie's was obviously failed an HIA. Anton's was a shoulder, but we'll give you guys an update in the next 2 days as we gather that info.
Thank you.
Who's next online?
Is it Sam Lynn McConnell here, mate?
Hey, Lynn, how are you?
In the intensity of the play out there, how hard was it to keep a fix on things and keep your mind on what you wanted to try and do?
Yeah, I think Fozzie summed it up quite well before. They had the ball from us, so for us we're on the defensive side for a long time, but felt like when we did get possession and we controlled it, and when we did that, it felt like we were actually getting some really good inroads, but we just needed more of the ball. So you can't, or it's hard to win test matches when you're camped in your own 22 making a whole lot of tackles. So that's something that we'll definitely have a look at, and that's something that we need to get better at.
And how frustrating is it with the amount of time referees are now taking with the TMO to check just about every important issue in the game? I mean, it makes the game go for a long time.
For us, it's the referees have got to do that to make sure it's the right call. So if they need the time, they've got to take it. The boys were obviously, they're always excited to make tackles, and it's part of the game. And I thought we weathered that storm really well. And then, as Fozzie said, we came out and scored points straight away and got ahead. So that was awesome that we could do that. But then we've just got to kick on and really get in front, and then hopefully put some scoreboard pressure on them. Obviously they did that to us, and we didn't finish the way we wanted to. As Fozzie said, we weren't as clinical as we needed to be. Yeah, we're very lucky as All Blacks. We get to play all around the world. Playing here in Dublin is one of those special places to play. I think anyone here in the crowd, not from Ireland, definitely appreciates the cool things, being obviously a kicker having a shot at goal, how quiet it is. as I've talked about earlier in the week. So every place we play is special, and this is one of those places.
A hint of dissatisfaction about Kira Ioane's late try being ruled out. Can you just did you see that differently than what they ruled on the field?
I certainly saw it differently, but that's life. It was clearly a really, really marginal decision.
Recording in progress.
I think it's been 3 years since we've been up here, and you know, I made the comment afterwards. You know, for a number of the players that haven't really been in a big test up here, it's very, very different, and it's very much a pressure game you've got to deal with. You've got to be at the top end of your discipline, because if you know, and if you sense weakness and suddenly you start to give up a couple of back-to-back penalties, then you're sort of feeding a game that teams like to play. So, and I thought we did that in the first half. Like we actually had some good moments, clung in on things, but then out of a little bit of frustration of not getting the ball, we started to just concede some penalties, and then Ireland just kept playing more and more game, you know, against us. So I think that's the big thing about the type of pressure and how teams impose it on us. And you know, sometimes you've just got to roll your sleeves up and just suck it up at times and just fight your way back into the game, which I felt we were doing, and then just got a little bit sharp on some decisions near the end. I mean, even the one that Peter O'Mahony won a penalty, which was a fair penalty, but that was an outstanding work from Artie and that to create that opportunity, but we just weren't quite clinical enough to finish it off. Look, I think I made the point before the game. I felt that there's a lot of similarities. You know, Ireland play a very high retention game. They like to retain the ball and put your system under pressure, and we saw that again tonight. But there's certainly a desire to play with a little bit more ambition, I think, around that. So it's a little bit wider in how they're playing some of their phase stuff, and I think also on the counter-attack there seems to be a little bit more ambition. So, but don't get me wrong, I thought that was a very, very good performance from Ireland, and probably the best performance I've come up against in my time. You know, I thought they were pretty polished. I think the beautiful thing about test matches is the one you're currently playing is the most important one, and that's the way we treat it. So, you know, we've certainly got no excuses of saying this wasn't a World Cup game or anything like that. This was a game that we wanted. We were very excited about playing, and didn't get what we want, hung in there, and still didn't get what we want. So, you know, sometimes you just got to accept that you're second best on the night.
Yeah, I think you summed it up yourself. We weathered the storm to a point, and as Fozzie said right at the start, we had an opportunity to score points. We took that, went in at half-time and in pretty good shape, even though we'd absorbed a lot of pressure. I think that's something for us to look at, and how we come out of that and how we can then apply pressure, because test match rugby, you can't just absorb the whole time. You've got to go out there and apply pressure yourselves. In general, every test match challenges you in different ways. I think tonight we were challenged just on the defensive side, as I said before. Some games in the Rugby Championship, you're challenged through your fitness, fatigue. You know, teams want to play a lot more. But I think we were challenged tonight in that defensive side, and stuck in our own 22, we couldn't really get out.
What did you think?
Well, your opinion.
I'm asking what yours is.
Well, the referee was mentioning a few things.
Yeah, he was.
And annoyed you.
The game is supposed to be played fast. There's times that if someone's injured and need treatment, they get a certain window of time, and if they can't fix it in that time, they go to the sideline. So, you know, it's hard for refs to try to speed the game up. And look, I mean, this is not a biggie for me, but it was clearly a tactic. So, and good on them for doing it, because there was a lot of them going down with cramp and all sorts of stuff. So I don't begrudge that, but we've just got to make sure we keep the game ticking over.
Yep. It's actually a nice special thing for us. Johnny had a gift for Bowden Barrett for his 100th game a couple of weeks ago, and then we had a gift for him. So a couple of bottles of red wine from New Zealand, and then Johnny and the team made a very nice gesture to the passing of Sean Wainui, so a jersey dedicated to him, so that jersey will be passed on to Shawnee's family once we get back to New Zealand. So it's a very special thing that their team has done, and it's something that we don't take for granted.
Thanks, everyone.
Just for me, I thought it was a pretty special gesture from Ireland with the jersey. So it was well-meaning and so we're proud of that sort of gift. And the wines, well, that's just typical of teens, just swapping gifts with each other, and so.